Alright, welcome back to another edition of Project GTR. Today I'm going to be doing something pretty basic, removing the catalytic converter from the exhaust system. As I've said already, there was a mid-muffler that was already on there that I cut off, and I'll show you that later on in the video, but I just want to free up the exhaust completely, so today we're just going to go ahead and get that cat out of there. As you can see, I've got the car already up in the air. Come around to the side, I kind of got my parts already laid up. Let's see here. The cat that I'm actually going to be using, it's from a company called Autobahn 88, I do believe. I got the cat from eBay, and I was kind of shaming myself for putting eBay parts on Skyline, but it is just a cat. I mean, the welds actually look pretty decent on it for what it is. It does have the bung already welded in there for me, so I can replace either the exhaust gas temperature sensor that's in there, or I can put in a wideband O2 sensor if I want to, which I will do in the future. It did come with hardware, it comes with the gaskets and everything. Never heard of the company before. Apparently they do quite a bit of stuff here. Looking through this pamphlet, I mean, I don't know if I'm actually gonna use any type of parts like that. I don't know, maybe I might kind of look into their hand fittings and stuff. Maybe I'm pricing those out, I'll throw that brand in there. But I mean, for the exhaust pipe, I think this will be pretty, this will work, you know what I mean? Like I said, it looks pretty good, it'll do the job. Alright, so as you can see, I have, here's the catalytic converter. I have the heat shield off. The heat shield's right here. Held on by 4 bolts. Pretty simple. You can see the brackets there, 2 on each side. To get it off, there's going to be 4 bolts. Ooh. There'll be 4 bolts, 2 here, and then 2 here. This is an exhaust gas temperature sensor. Now essentially what that does is, if it senses that your exhaust gases have reached or gone beyond a preset temperature in the ECU, then it will flash essentially a catalytic converter light, an overheated catalytic converter light on your dash, essentially telling you that your catalytic converter is trash and you need another one. As I showed you before, the catalytic or the straight pipe or test pipe that I'm going to be putting in does have a bung in there. I'm going to try and actually go ahead and put it back in there. I have read that you can just delete it. I'm not entirely sure if I need to ground it out somewhere or if I have to get a simulator or something, but I'm going to go ahead and put the test pipe in and run it without the sensor and see how the ECU acts, see how it runs. And then if there are issues, I'll go ahead and put it in, otherwise I'll take steps to delete it, because I don't want any engine lights or any crazy lights or anything going on underneath or on my dash. So let's go ahead and start getting this taken apart. I don't know what this bracket's for. So the next thing I'm going to do is try and loosen up this exhaust gas temperature sensor here. Of course, I think I didn't grab... Oh, no. $13 it is. Eureka. Ooh, yeah. That sounds dry. So there's your EGT sensor. Actually, we'll just kind of thread that in there so we can get these other 2 bolts out. Next on, rooting through my toolbox with Jason. Okay. This thing is loose too. Ball sacks. What the hell? I don't know how I'm gonna get that off. Those threads are fuck. I'm starting to think I'm gonna have to cut this or drill it at least. Always something. We have the studs there. Might need to drill or cut it off. We'll see what I'll do here. Well, there's one. Because this area is so tight, what I'm going to do, I actually have an extension tool here. It's actually part of a Dremel, and this little attachment, it's called the Wizard, is pretty awesome for getting in tight spaces, which is what we're going to use to finish cutting this bad boy off here. Holding on for dear life. Not anymore, she's not. Got her loose. Okay, as you can see, I got the cat out after cutting those two bolts. Like I said before, I'm sure everybody's heard of the Dremel. Everybody's had a Dremel, but that attachment is a lifesaver. I highly suggest getting one for getting into those tight corners, especially with this cutting tool here. So yeah, here's the cat. See all the baffling and all that in there. Actually looks to be in pretty decent condition for being 26 years old. Same thing with the gasket here. This kit does come with all new hardware. It does come with new gaskets and everything, so that's cool. I did notice, however, that the bung here it'll be good for a wideband, but for that heat sensor it's way too small. I'm gonna have to find maybe a spark plug anti-foul adapter or something to maybe thread in here, and then I could maybe make that work. But until I can kind of figure that out, I'm gonna run without that EGT sensor. I think I'm gonna have to find a way, because right now I have it just kind of taped up. So maybe I'll take that grommet out there and see if I can just go ahead and disconnect it all together. I'd like to try and keep everything in one piece, not just have to cut it. So let's get started slapping this bad boy on. Really? should just use the jack. That probably would have been a better idea. If you're watching this, don't be like me. Use a jack to hold it up. But we've got it started. That's all that matters.
Oops.
It's also not a bad idea to use some copper mix anti-seize. As I am going to be using this bung for wideband, I'm going to need to get it out at some point, so be a good idea. Maybe should have put some on the bolts for the cat, but I don't really plan on removing that anytime soon, if ever. Alright, as you can see, we got the actual cat pipe all in. Annie-seized the bung there, so when I actually do put the O2 sensor in, I can get it out. The only thing we have to worry about is this little dangling guy here, the EGT sensor. But what I'm trying to do now is just remove it all together. As you can see, I've taken the bottom door trim or kick panel or whatever you want to call it off. And here, you can see it's very dirty. What you're going to have to get this off are going to be 4 of these body clips here. You can see one right there. There'll be 4 of those lined along here. Just pop those off to pull that kick panel off. And then here, you just kind of pull this plastic, I don't know, end cap thing here. You just pull that off, and that's attached to your carpet so you can get it on the carpet. But obviously, as if you can see under here, popped it out, and it goes underneath the passenger seat here. So what we're going to need to do is actually remove the passenger seat. Now you can actually see I have 2 of the bolts here. And actually you can see there I have the rear bolt removed. The seat is pretty much free. So what we're going to do is remove the seat, pull up the carpet, and then see what we can do with that sensor. Okay, so we've got the seat out, which was just 4 14mm bolts like I showed you before. But the thing we're going to need to do now is where the seat belt where the seat belt actually mounts to the chassis of the car. We're going to have to pull that off too so we can get the carpeting up. And then we should be able to access where that sensor is, which should just be underneath where this heating duct is for the rear seat. Alright, as you can see by the hole, I've actually gotten the sensor pulled all the way through underneath the carpeting. Now, like I said, I had to get the seat out of here to actually be able to access this, or at least to figure out where it runs. But now that I know where it runs, you might actually be able to skip that step. If you noticed before, there was a heat register here that's underneath the mount of the seat. You should be able to access it if you slide the seat all the way forward. You might be able to get in there, but inside there, if you can see, this is the end of the sensor here. And actually on the top, you can see the little clips mounts to this little guy there. As you can see, I've already disconnected it, and I'm going to finish pulling this all the way through, and then we're going to get the grommet off of there so I can replace it on the bottom of the car, or I might actually find a different grommet without a hole in it to replace on the bottom of the car, and then we should be good to go. Alright, so I got the sensor out, as you can see. What I ended up doing with the grommet, I had to use it again But what I did was I cut it so I could get the actual wire out, and then I threaded a nut and bolt combo in there to fill the hole. And there's a washer in there, and it should be good. For what I'm using it to, I'll obviously be looking for another, like a close-off grommet that I could use to actually just kind of close that off if need be, which I most likely will. Oh yeah, if you're taking out your seat, be aware there is a seatbelt signal here. I almost ripped that out as I was pulling the seat out. So all I have to do now is slap everything back together and see how she sounds. Alright, as you can see, got the seats back in. Everything's bolted up. Nice thing is all four corners, it was 14 millimeters. Same thing with the chassis mount for the seat belt. Got this area cleaned up here. Cleaned up quite nicely. So I just have to put the kick plate back on, get everything cleaned up, and we can start her up. And here you can see both restrictors that I took off of this vehicle. Fujitsu mid-pipe, mid-muffler, catalytic converter. And I actually have a plan for this thing. This is actually a perfectly good muffler, so I have plans for you. So I got everything in, started her up, and it sounds awesome. I did actually go take it for a spin. I didn't get on it too hard because when I was under there I found something a little concerning. I'll actually put that on the next video. Yeah, I got some pulls in her and she sounds awesome. It finally has that RB26 note I've been looking for. Like I said, I'll put that those little clips here at the end of this video. But thank you for joining me on this little project, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.